That's great, George. You know, I was just thinking, so often when you press an evolutionist to share what he believes, what scientific evidence convinced him that evolution was true, he really doesn't come up with much. And I like to say, well, can you give evidence of any species-to-species transitional forms? And you find that most evolutionists have got no idea of the difference between micro and macroevolution. They'll speak of variations within species. Like just yesterday, a gentleman whose name is, what was his name? Dallas. He's an evolutionist. He's in his 60s. I think he's some sort of educated gentleman. And I said, what evidence? He said, bacteria. I said, so you saw it change? Absolutely. What did it change into? He says, into a different bacteria. I said, it's still bacteria. There's no evolution has taken place. And that's the evidence so many of them have. They don't have any species-to-species transitional forms in the fossil record. There's nothing to show that any species change from one kind to another. All we do in the fossil record and in creation itself is see exactly what the scriptures say. Every animal brings forth after its own kind. And so it's very important to realize how shallow many of these people are and not spend too much time arguing with them, but to go for the conscience. That's the key, because our agenda shouldn't be to convince someone of God's existence. According to Romans 1, everybody knows about God's existence. What we want to do is convince them they're in terrible trouble, and if they die in their sins, hell is very real, and it horrifies us to think they'd end up there.
Amen.
Yes, now, Evan, let me know if you're there, Evan.
I am.
You got a lot of fans, Ray.
Hey, Evan.
Evan does a lot of wonderful creation videos on YouTube. I'll let you say hi, Evan.
Hello, Evan.
Hey, hi, Ray.
How you doing?
I'm so glad to meet you and speak with you. Ray, I wanted to ask you about something. I get a lot when I discuss evolutionism with atheists that they point now, especially the layperson evolutionists, they love to point to biochemical adaptations of life and then postulate macroevolution from such things. For example, nylon-ace bacteria, I'm sure you're familiar with. A bacteria was discovered with the ability to digest nylon. Well, this is a biochemical adaptation, but this doesn't have any change. It doesn't affect the morphology, the set of features, you know, that a creature has. If it has eyes, a tail, nictating membranes, whatever. So what I find is they're pointing to little biochemical changes which have no power to change morphology, the structure and form of a creature, and they're saying, look, there's evolutionary change. Do you get that a lot too? Because I find that the weakest sort of argument, and really it is totally weak, because how biochemical changes, we know that DNA is the recipe for the design and development of a creature and all its biochemical functions. That is the mechanism by which forms are determined, not biochemical changes outside the DNA molecule. Do you get this ridiculous argument a lot?
Absolutely. They hold up DNA as some sort of evidence against creationism, and it's crazy talk. DNA is a language, and if you saw on a beach, written in the sand, the words, Tommy, come home at 12 o'clock for lunch, you'd say, oh, someone intelligent put those words there. You wouldn't say, oh, the sea just swooshed up and those words happened by chance, because you're a creature of reason. And so you know that somebody intelligent wrote those words. And DNA is a language. And so to say that DNA just happened by chance is crazy talk. It's to say nothing created everything. Actually, my latest book is called Nothing Created Everything, and it's got a quote by Dawkins in the book, along with a lot of other scientists saying that they believe nothing created everything. Dawkins believes that you and I are cousins of bananas. And so when you probe what these guys believe, what they think, it's totally unscientific. It really is a fairy tale for grown-ups, and creationism is just straight reasonable intelligence.
Yes.
And by the way, Ray, before I forget, and Evan, not to cut you off, I want you to finish your sentence too. Ray, would you be so kind to give out the websites where people can reach you and where they can buy your book? And I want to give it out again later on, but I like to give it out in the middle of the show and then towards the end.
Well, it's very kind of you. livingwaters.com. livingwaters.com. What might be great is if people sign up for the free email update that Kirk and I send out. Up in the right-hand corner, you'll see where you can sign up for it. We send out video clips and behind-the-scenes video clips, and most clips each week show someone being witnessed to, an atheist being witnessed to, and people find that very helpful. Also, we've got a promo now of all the people that were involved in giving the books out to 170 schools, so people can watch that video clip on originintoschools.com. originintoschools.com.
Okay, wonderful. And who did Evan, were you saying something?
Oh, I was just going to ask Ray. I was going to say, you pointed out about DNA, and of course, DNA is empirical evidence of design. You get a lot of, the atheists have clung to of this idea that mutation is a mechanism for evolutionary change. But don't find in your studies, Ray, that it's been 70 years of this kind of experimentation, and we've concluded the evidence is just overwhelming that mutation is completely incapable of causing the things that evolutionists say.
I know that it's just it's also crazy talk, the whole mutations thing. I went to Paris and I took a camera crew, and we went to the Evolution Museum in Paris and asked to see their evolutionary display, and we couldn't find it. We spent an hour. It's called the Evolution Museum of Paris. We couldn't find anything to do with evolution until we asked an attendant, who took us and showed us a stuffed monkey with Lucy written on it in a corner. That's all they had. Then I went to the Smithsonian Institute up in Washington, D.C., and I asked for their evolution display, and all it was all of God's creation, same as the French one. Just huge bones of animals and all this incredible thing that things that God has made, and their evolution display was 3 or 4 monkey-looking folks standing around by a fire. That's all they had. And when you question them, on my blog I says, where is it? And they say, oh, all the transitional forms, species to species, are behind closed doors. They don't bring them out. It's just crazy. They don't have anything more. To say there's even they say, oh, it's just a handful of species to species fossils. They don't even have a handful. They have nothing at all. The whole thing is a bluff. And so,
no fish dog?
What's that?
Yes.
No fish dog?
No fish dog, Pastor George.
Oh, no fish dog. Yeah, there's no fish dog. There's no bird dog. It's no crocodile.
And then I want to let Gear Up chime in here too. But I want to tell you something, Mr. Comfort, is we did a show here on the radio show called The Madness of Atheism, where we invited our atheist friends to call up and provide proof and evidence that atheism is accurate and correct. In other words, where's the proof and evidence that they think the way they do? And none of them were able to do it. So then I got challenged to call into an atheist radio show and ask them, and I called up an atheist radio show, and there were 4 atheists, and I asked them to provide proof and evidence that atheism was accurate and correct. And you're going to laugh, you guys. You know what they said? They brought up fairies, unicorns, and leprechauns. So I'm reading Ray's book, right? And it says right here, if I can read part of it, you guys are going to laugh. It says, Ray says, atheists don't hate any god, fairy, leprechaun, unicorn. Evidently, this seems to be a pattern of the madness of atheism. It is obsessed about fairies, leprechauns, and unicorns. And Ray says, that's right. Atheists don't hate fairies, leprechauns, or unicorns because they don't exist. It is impossible to hate something that doesn't exist. And that makes the point. Atheists, like the painting experts hated the painter, hate God because he does exist. Many atheists spend time thinking about God, then arguing about him, then blaspheming his name, and showing contempt and ridicule for those that love him.
Right.
Atheists have the axiomatic evidence of creation and of their conscience and are therefore without excuse. By professing the blindness of atheism, they deny the God-given light that he has given each of us. Amen to that. But it was interesting that even though, Ray, you and I had never met, it seems to be a pattern with the fairy, leprechaun, unicorn. And there's one other one missing, Santa Claus.
Santa.
Let's not forget about Santa.
Yeah, they don't get upset. If there's any atheists listening at the moment, I think it's important that we let them know that we really do love them and we care about them, and that's the only reason we talk like we do and speak as we do, is because we care about them when they spend eternity, because we know hell does exist.